When there's a strange new film out in theaters, it's time to call up my Ghostbusters ranking. Welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema, and today we're going to be ranking the Ghostbusters film from my least favorite to my favorite, and I'd love to see you join down in the comments below what you think of the franchise as a whole. Me personally, I'm not as big of a fan of the franchise as I used to be, but that's just my personal take, and I'd love to see yours. Make sure you like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you haven't already, and join in this film culture community learning about films each and every day. And so getting right into it, at number 5, we have Ghostbusters 2. Now this feels like it's pulling the same strings that Ghostbusters 1 brings us, pulling all the narrative beats that feels all of the same, just having Dana having to call on the Ghostbusters in trouble, and even having a fairly same exposition. But unfortunately for this one, it lacks the substance that the first film has, pulling in a lot of sameness to that, but also having a lot of filler moments that just makes the film more boring and doesn't have as much excitement along the way, and also has the annoying jokes that I just am not a personal big fan of. And while the ghost as the Statue of Liberty at the end looks kind of impressive for its time, it just does not redeem what this film has as a whole. And coming at number 4, we have Ghostbusters 2016. Now personally, I do not like this film, but I feel it's not for the same reason everyone else does. I'm just not personally a big comedy fan, and so that's the subside that takes away from what this film has to offer. The girls have great chemistry, it's a great cast, but some of the narrative beats just trips up on itself and doesn't always deliver on what the humor is asking. There's certain contrivances or certain notes that doesn't make the film as subside than it needs to be, and as efficient that it should be taking the plot. And so while the final battle is actually one of my favorite final battles because it makes it worthwhile with how big the threat is and how lengthy the duration that it offers us, unfortunately, the whole runtime just does not deliver on what I would like it to do. And coming in number 3, we have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now this delivers on some same narrative beats that we get in the past, but it still offers new surprises along the way, and it takes us right into the film. Instead of offering a lot of exposition, having to bring the team back together, it offers something that gives a little bit more action along the way, but ultimately, it still offers the same villain that we got in the first film, and ultimately delivers on something that where the comedy doesn't work as efficiently, and the beats along the way doesn't offer everything that I would like it to. There's certain new technology that makes it more interesting, and the modern look and the camera movements feel like it flows a lot more efficiently than we have seen from the franchise as a whole. Of course, some of the films have lesser technology, so that's not a knock against the older films for that means, but still the directing is a really efficient for something that I can really be positive about. But despite the visuals, despite the great directing, the flow of it has a lot of different subplots that don't really seem to fill out the runtime in an efficient manner when you're really looking at the end final battle, and it kind of resolves itself fairly quickly and is contrived in a way that doesn't deliver on the film as a whole. And coming in at number 2, we have Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now this one has an opposite way, where it has a lengthy exposition delivering on something where we've seen a lot of beats before. We understand the technology and how they're delivering it, while they're opening up to this new sequel, this new generation of kids that does perform on great performances, have great narrative beats that I can enjoy certain aspects for how they're building upon the lore, but ultimately they're still delivering on the same ghost that the first did. It does have a different beat along the how they pull off this story, how they deliver on a different plot, but ultimately there's still some ideas that are pulled off in the same way. There's interesting new characters. It pulls in some of the legacy characters when we get from the original cast, but some of that also just feels like it's forced just to pull in a new crowd, to pull in things instead of relying on a new generation of kids to pull off their own punches, but it still delivers on its own means when it does. But that leaves at number 1, Ghostbusters. Now, I used to be a big fan of it. I'm not as much anymore, but that doesn't stop it from being my favorite of the franchise, being the same general vibe that really sets up the atmosphere of this film, what you expect from these films as a whole, delivering on a great cast. But unfortunately, there's contrivances and bigger flaws along the way that a lot of people seem to not really address. How certain things get pulled up along the way, you learn certain things that just happen to be the subsequent cause of what the biggest threat is. And some of the final battle sequences doesn't deliver as a whole. It offers a great idea, and especially for its time, the technology looks great and still does to this day. Even if it is modernized in the newer films, I still really enjoy what they have to offer with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and all of the dialogue along the way, but certain beats to the sexual tension between certain aspects and certain penis jokes or other things. The comedy does not always blend. The structure is a little messy, but that doesn't stop it from having good vibes for what I expect for these franchise films, and I just still enjoy the first Ghostbusters film as a whole, even if it does have the flaws along the way. And so that's just my personal ranking of a Ghostbusters film, and I'd love to see you joining out in comments below how you would rank these films and what you think of the franchise as a whole. And so that's just all. Make sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. Help me build this film culture community all together. We talk about film each and every day. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.